7 years ago, John held Sophia's hand tightly in a sterile hospital room. The harsh fluorescent lights cast a cold glow on the white walls, and the faint smell of antiseptic hung heavy in the air. His knuckles were white from the pressure of his grip, and his voice trembled slightly as he whispered promises. "We're a team," he said, looking into her eyes. "We'll get through this together." Their son, Leo, had just been diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder, one that would change their lives forever. The kind of diagnosis that made strangers nod solemnly and say, "I don't know how you do it." Sophia tried to cling to John's words, hoping for strength, but deep inside, a storm was already brewing. 3 months later, everything changed. John packed a single Gucci suitcase, leaving behind the life they had built. On the kitchen counter, Sophia found a cruel note attached to a carton of expired milk. The note was brief and cold, void of any explanation or apology. It said simply that he had found someone else. Someone new. The mother of perfect twins. That woman was Deborah, his paralegal, who was already several months pregnant with twins healthy and full of promise, everything Leo was not. Sophia's heart shattered quietly as she read the words, the weight of abandonment settling on her shoulders like a stone. John traded Leo's endless grueling physical therapy appointments for prenatal yoga classes in sun-drenched studios. He swapped their cramped 2-bedroom apartment, filled with medical supplies and the echo of Leo's cries, for a sprawling new house in the suburbs. The house boasted a 3-car garage and a grand foyer decorated with a Christmas tree that gleamed in the soft light. Meanwhile, Sophia was left with Leo's fragile body and the unyielding demands of his care. What cut Sophia deeper than the physical absence was John's deliberate erasure of Leo from his public life. He meticulously scrubbed every photo, every memory from social media, as if deleting Leo's existence would cleanse his conscience. The social media feed that once carried images of family smiles and shared milestones now only featured glossy ultrasound pictures of Mason and Amelia, the perfect twins he proudly displayed. Their lives unfolded in a golden haze of family vacations to Aruba, ski trips to Aspen, and flawlessly shot Christmas cards where they all wore matching cashmere sweaters. Sophia's world was a stark contrast. Her days were measured not in laughter or milestones but in medication schedules, specialist visits, and battles with soul-sucking insurance companies. One particularly cruel fight was over coverage for a wheelchair that Leo desperately needed, deemed not medically necessary by indifferent bureaucrats. Her photographs were taken not in warm sunlight but under the harsh fluorescence of emergency rooms. Despite it all, Sophia's spirit remained unbroken. When an article surfaced detailing Mason's diagnosis, the very same condition Leo had, she didn't feel sorrow or pity. Instead, there was a grim satisfaction in knowing that the cruel twist of fate had caught up with John and Deborah. Sophia picked up the small silver-framed mirror on her nightstand, her eyes tracing the faint stress lines around them. These lines were badges of survival, etched by years of struggle and unyielding love. For the first time in a very long time, Sophia smiled, a real, genuine smile that reached her eyes and bared her teeth. She smiled because John and Deborah were just beginning to learn the painful truth she had known all along: you can abandon a child, but you cannot escape your own blood. Karma, she believed, had a wicked sense of humor and a long memory. The mind has a way of protecting itself, blurring the worst moments into vague watercolors of pain. But some memories remained sharp like shards of glass beneath the skin. The day Leo was diagnosed remained etched clearly in Sophia's mind: the cold hospital walls, the scent of antiseptic, the geneticist's kind but tired eyes delivering a harsh prognosis. The words degenerative, progressive, lifelong care, and significant developmental challenges bounced off the silent room, settling heavy on her heart. John had played the role of the concerned father perfectly at first. He held Sophia's hand, asked smart questions about prognosis and research, rubbed her back and whispered, "We will get through this. We're a team." But beneath the surface, cracks had begun to spiderweb. Before the diagnosis, he was already dismissive, telling Sophia that Leo was just a boy and would develop normally. He compared Leo unfavorably to other children, calling the situation desperate. The drive home from the geneticist's office was heavy with silence. John's first concrete question wasn't about Leo's needs or how Sophia was feeling, it was about money. "This is going to destroy us financially," he said, jaw tight, eyes fixed ahead. Weeks later, Sophia overheard him on the phone, lamenting how his career was taking off and this diagnosis was not part of the plan. He spoke as if Leo were a bad investment, a poorly timed business merger complicating his portfolio. John's excuses piled up, late nights at work, demanding clients, and the supposed necessity of Deborah's presence. Sophia had imagined Deborah as a mild, overworked paralegal, but she was a predator in a pencil skirt, with a calculating eye for advancement. Signs were everywhere: his sudden obsession with the gym, flinching when Sophia tried to touch him, recoiling from her grief as if it were contagious. The emotional gulf widened with each medical device brought into their home. John looked at Leo not with love but with resentment, seeing him as a flawed reflection of his own DNA. Leo became an anchor dragging down John's carefully planned perfect life. The day he left, a Tuesday, was seared in Sophia's memory, the silence that screamed as she returned home, the cruel note on the fridge, the empty spaces where warmth once lived. John said he would ensure Sophia and Leo were taken care of financially but refused to be part of their journey. Like a scheduling conflict, he declined his role as father and husband. Sophia sank to the linoleum floor, numb and broken, until Leo's small cry pulled her back. Holding her son close, numbness turned to cold resolve. If John wanted to run, Sophia would face the battle alone. Sophia's days began before dawn, the quiet hours filled with the steady rhythm of care and vigilance. As a devoted mother, she navigated a world most could never understand, a world of endless appointments, therapies, and sleepless nights. Leo, their son, was a fragile soul, his body marked by a rare genetic disorder that challenged every movement, every breath. From the moment he was diagnosed, Sophia had become his fierce protector, a tireless advocate who refused to surrender to despair. Each morning, she rose with the sun and prepared the complex regimen of medications that kept Leo stable. She carefully measured each dose, aware that the slightest mistake could bring catastrophic consequences. Her fingers, once nimble and steady, now bore the faint tremor of exhaustion from years of relentless care. Yet, despite the physical toll, her resolve never wavered. She knew Leo depended on her unwavering strength to navigate the challenges ahead. Their home was a constant flurry of activity. Specialized equipment filled the rooms: wheelchairs, feeding tubes, communication devices designed to give Leo a voice. The air was often tinged with antiseptic, a reminder of hospital visits and emergencies that punctuated their lives. Every day was a delicate balance between hope and hardship, small victories shadowed by the looming weight of chronic illness. Sophia's world was a patchwork of specialist consultations and therapy sessions. Physical therapy helped Leo maintain what little mobility he had, while occupational therapy worked to improve his daily functions. Speech therapy sessions focused on using his eye gaze communication device, a sophisticated screen that allowed him to express needs and emotions through focused looks. Watching Leo concentrate so intently, Sophia felt a surge of pride tempered by the ache of his limitations. While Sophia poured herself into Leo's care, John's presence faded like a distant shadow. Once the man who promised unwavering support, he became increasingly absent, both physically and emotionally. His attendance at appointments dwindled, replaced by excuses of long work hours and pressing deadlines. The home they shared grew quieter, the space between them widening with every passing day. John's new life blossomed elsewhere. The house in the suburbs echoed with the laughter of Mason and Amelia, his perfect twins with Deborah. Social media posts showcased family outings, glossy photographs of happy moments carefully curated to project an image of perfection. Deborah's online presence mirrored this polished facade: flawless selfies, fashionable outfits, and carefully crafted captions painting a picture of effortless motherhood. Deborah was the antithesis of Sophia's reality. Where Sophia's days were filled with medical jargon and hospital visits, Deborah's world revolved around Instagram filters and designer brands. Her sharp features were always perfectly made up, her hair styled impeccably. She navigated motherhood with the ease of a socialite, balancing family life with a career that demanded attention and admiration. The contrast between the two women was stark, a painful reminder of the gulf John had chosen to cross. Sophia often caught glimpses of Deborah in public, at upscale grocery stores, playgrounds, and cafes, always accompanied by John and the twins. The smiles were practiced, the interactions polished, yet beneath the surface, Sophia sensed the cracks that no camera could hide. Despite the emotional wounds inflicted by John's abandonment, Sophia refused to let bitterness consume her. Her focus remained steadfast on Leo's needs, a constant in a world turned upside down. The medical journey was fraught with complexities. Leo's condition involved low muscle tone, motor control deficits, and ataxia, a neurological symptom affecting his coordination and balance. These challenges meant that even simple tasks like sitting upright or grasping objects required persistent effort and support. Sophia became an expert in managing Leo's medical care. She learned to administer feeding through his gastrostomy tube, ensuring he received proper nutrition despite difficulty swallowing. She mastered seizure protocols, knowing exactly when to seek emergency help. The weight of responsibility was immense, yet she bore it with quiet dignity. Every therapy session was a battle. Leo's muscles resisted, his body reluctant to respond, but Sophia celebrated every inch gained. A successful swallow, a smile, a moment of eye contact, these were the victories that fueled her determination. The emotional labor was heavy, moments of despair threatened to overwhelm, but Sophia's love forged an unbreakable shield. Financial strain added another layer of stress. Insurance companies questioned the necessity of medical devices and treatments, forcing Sophia into exhausting negotiations. Bills piled up, and every rejection felt like a personal attack. Yet, she persevered, driven by the knowledge that Leo's well-being depended on her relentless advocacy. In the quiet moments, when Leo slept peacefully, Sophia allowed herself brief reflection. The loss of John's partnership was a wound that still throbbed beneath her strength. She grappled with feelings of betrayal, loneliness, and the harsh reality that the man who vowed to be her teammate had chosen a different path. Yet, these feelings never eclipsed her commitment to Leo. Sophia's support network was small but vital. Friends reached out hesitantly, unsure how to help. Some offered words of encouragement, others kept their distance, unable to face the weight of her reality. It was in this isolation that Sophia found unexpected solace in online communities of parents facing similar battles. Shared stories, advice, and empathy became lifelines in an otherwise isolating journey. John's absence was palpable in every aspect of Sophia's life. She was both mother and father to Leo, balancing roles with exhaustion and grace. The home they once shared was now a reminder of what had been lost, a space where memories lingered alongside medical equipment and silent hope. Through it all, Sophia's fierce resolve never faltered. Her love for Leo was a guiding light, a source of strength that carried her through the darkest days. She was determined not only to survive but to give Leo the best life possible, no matter the obstacles. As she prepared for another day of care, therapy, and advocacy, Sophia carried within her a quiet fire. Though the world had turned its back on her family, she stood unyielding, a mother fighting not just for her son's life but for dignity, love, and hope amidst the storm. John's departure was more than a physical absence, it was a devastating rupture that echoed through every corner of Sophia's life. The note on the fridge, cold and impersonal, was a stark finality to a chapter she had desperately hoped would never end. The emotional blow cut deep, but the financial strain soon threatened to suffocate what little stability remained. Almost immediately, Sophia found herself plunged into the unforgiving maze of insurance battles. Each claim was met with skepticism, every request for essential medical equipment questioned and delayed. The wheelchair Leo desperately needed was deemed not medically necessary by the insurance company, forcing Sophia into hours of frustrating phone calls and paperwork. The language was clinical, impersonal, but the stakes were personal and heart-wrenching. Medical bills began to mount relentlessly. Specialist visits, therapy sessions, medications, and emergency room trips accumulated into a towering mountain of debt. John's minimal financial support barely scratched the surface, often funneled through lawyers who ensured it remained just above the legal minimum. Sophia became an expert in stretching resources, juggling bills, and seeking out every available grant or charity aid for families like hers. The financial weight was compounded by an agonizing social isolation. Friends drifted away, unsure how to support a family grappling with chronic illness and heartbreak. Invitations dwindled, casual conversations became scarce. Sophia felt the silence keenly, a reminder that her world had shrunk to the confines of hospitals and home. The loneliness was crushing, a silent companion to her exhaustion. Meanwhile, John's erasure of Leo from his life grew more blatant. Social media profiles, once filled with family memories, transformed into curated galleries of his new life with Deborah and their twins. Photos of Leo vanished without a trace, replaced by gleaming images of a perfect family. Birthday wishes, holiday greetings, even casual mentions of Leo disappeared, as if rewriting history could erase the pain of abandonment. Sophia heard whispers of John's new life through mutual acquaintances and social media glimpses. The contrast was staggering. While she fought daily battles to keep Leo alive and thriving, John basked in the glow of Instagram-perfect family moments. The twins were healthy, active, and thriving, the living embodiment of the life John had chosen over his son. Each image was a knife twisting, a reminder of what was lost and what had been forsaken. Despite the growing gulf between past hopes and present realities, Sophia refused to succumb to despair. The dreams of a united family had crumbled, but her resolve to protect and nurture Leo only strengthened. Every denied claim, every mounting bill, every social slight fueled her determination. The love for her son was an unbreakable bond, a fire that burned fiercely even in the darkest nights. Sophia's days were consumed by the logistics of care. Coordinating appointments, managing medications, and advocating fiercely for necessary treatments became her full-time job. She learned to navigate the labyrinth of healthcare bureaucracy with tenacity, armed with medical records, research, and unwavering advocacy. Each small victory, approval for a new therapy, a successful insurance appeal, was celebrated as a hard-earned battle won. The emotional toll was immense. Nights were often sleepless, filled with the sounds of Leo's restless breathing or seizures that sent them rushing to emergency rooms. Sophia carried the weight of fear, exhaustion, and grief silently, masking her pain behind a stoic exterior. The absence of John's support made each challenge more daunting, each setback more painful. In the quiet moments, Sophia wrestled with feelings of abandonment and betrayal. The man who once promised to stand by her side had chosen to walk away, leaving a family shattered. Yet, beneath the sorrow was a growing steeliness, a refusal to be defined by loss. Sophia channeled her pain into purpose, determined to create a life of meaning and love for Leo. The gulf between past hopes and present harshness was a chasm that Sophia crossed daily. Memories of John's vows and promises clashed with the reality of his absence and indifference. The contrast between the life they once dreamed of and the daily struggles she faced was stark and painful. But Sophia's gaze remained fixed on the future, on the possibilities she could still forge for her son. Despite the loneliness, Sophia found unexpected strength in small moments: Leo's smile, a successful therapy session, a kind word from a fellow parent. These fragments of hope sustained her, reminders that amidst the darkness, light could still shine. The battles were many, but so was her resilience. John's abandonment was not just a loss of a partner, it was a rejection of the family they had created. Yet Sophia refused to let that rejection define her or Leo. She stood resolute, a mother whose love transcended betrayal and hardship. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, but Sophia's heart beat with unwavering courage. As bills piled high and social doors closed, Sophia's world narrowed but never broke. She navigated the harsh realities with fierce determination, a testament to the unyielding bond between mother and child. The absence of John was a void filled by Sophia's love, strength, and relentless fight to give Leo the life he deserved. Sophia's nights were often the hardest. The world around her quieted, but inside, a tempest of emotions raged unchecked. Rejection weighed heavily on her chest, a suffocating reminder of John's abandonment, not just of her, but of Leo. The echo of his empty promises haunted her, each whispered "we're a team now" a bitter mockery. Loneliness crept in relentlessly, a shadow that stretched long and cold in the dim hours before dawn. Yet beneath the weight of despair, a fierce, unwavering love for her son blazed bright, fueling her every breath and action. In the silence, Sophia wrestled with a torrent of fury. How could the man who vowed to protect and cherish them choose a different path? How could he erase Leo from his life so completely, as if his own blood and flesh were a blemish to be scrubbed away? The pain of this rejection was raw and searing, cutting deep into the fabric of her identity as wife, mother, and partner. Yet, no matter how fierce the rage, it never overshadowed her devotion to Leo. He was her anchor, the reason she endured each excruciating day. Sophia found herself oscillating between moments of fragile vulnerability and steely determination. Some days, the weight of grief threatened to crush her spirit, dragging her into dark corners of self-doubt. She questioned her strength, her ability to carry the burden alone. Sleepless nights blurred into tear-streaked mornings. The silence of an empty home was a cruel reminder of the life she had lost, the family fractured beyond repair. But within this maelstrom, Sophia discovered a new source of purpose. She began writing, initially as a private outlet, a way to scream silently into the void. Her blog, Leo's World, was unpolished and raw, an honest chronicle of the unglamorous realities of raising a child with a chronic illness. She wrote about the exhaustion that no amount of coffee could fix, the judgmental stares from strangers in grocery stores, the frustration of navigating a broken healthcare system. Each post was a catharsis, a small step toward reclaiming her voice amid the chaos. The blog quickly evolved beyond personal therapy. Comments trickled in from parents facing their own battles, each sharing stories of hardship, resilience, and hope. A community blossomed, a secret society of the sleep-deprived, the medically proficient, and the emotionally weary. They exchanged advice on feeding tubes, seizures, and insurance battles. They celebrated victories, small moments of progress that felt monumental in their lives. Sophia was no longer alone, she had found a tribe that understood the relentless fight. Through this growing network, Sophia's grief transformed into leadership. She became an advocate not only for Leo but for countless families trapped in similar struggles. The blog was no longer just a personal refuge, it was a beacon for those who needed solidarity and strength. Sophia poured herself into this mission, organizing fundraisers, connecting families with resources, and fighting for better recognition of pediatric chronic illness. Her pain became a catalyst for change, her voice a rallying cry. Yet, this transformation was not without its shadows. Moments of doubt still surfaced, questions about whether she was enough, whether her efforts could truly make a difference. The enormity of the challenges sometimes felt overwhelming. There were nights when the tears flowed freely, when exhaustion blurred into despair. But each time, Sophia drew strength from Leo's smiles, his determination, and the community that surrounded her. Her relationship with John was a complex web of unresolved emotions. Anger simmered beneath the surface, a quiet fire that refused to die. She grappled with feelings of betrayal and loss, yet also with an emerging sense of peace. John's absence was a wound, but it was also a space where Sophia's resilience could grow. She refused to let his choices define her or limit her capacity to love and fight for her son. Sophia's days were filled with a delicate balance of hope and hardship. She celebrated Leo's milestones with tears and laughter, each successive victory against the odds. The challenges of therapy sessions, medical emergencies, and bureaucratic battles were met with unwavering resolve. The fierce love that drove her became a shield against despair, a light guiding her through the darkest tunnels. As her blog gained traction, Sophia found herself speaking at events and connecting with medical professionals. She shared her story openly, breaking down stigmas and educating others about the realities of chronic illness. Her advocacy work brought new purpose and meaning, turning personal pain into collective empowerment. The community she built was a testament to human resilience and the power of shared experience. Through every struggle and triumph, Sophia's identity as a mother deepened. Leo's presence was a constant source of joy and challenge, teaching her patience, strength, and unconditional love. She learned to navigate the unpredictable rhythms of his condition, adapting and persevering. Their bond was unbreakable, forged in adversity and nurtured by hope. Despite the enormity of her journey, Sophia held on to moments of normalcy and joy. Simple pleasures, a gentle hug, a shared song, a quiet evening, became treasures. These glimpses of happiness sustained her, reminders that life could still hold beauty amid struggle. Her fierce determination to provide Leo with the best possible life was matched by her desire to savor these fleeting moments. Sophia's internal struggles were a testament to the complexity of human emotion. Love, grief, anger, hope, and resilience intertwined in a tapestry that shaped her every step. Her journey was not linear but a series of peaks and valleys, each teaching her more about herself and the depth of a mother's love. In the face of abandonment and adversity, Sophia emerged not just as a caregiver but as a leader and advocate. Her voice carried the stories of many, giving strength to those who had none. Through grief transformed into action, she carved a path of empowerment, proving that even in the darkest moments, light can shine. ChatGPT said. The shock came quietly, like a whisper carried on a cold wind. Sophia first noticed it in a social media post, a birthday celebration for Mason, one of John and Deborah's twins. The picture showed a chaotic scene, spilled juice, superhero costumes, and a toddler sitting apart from the others with a slightly awkward posture. The comments beneath the photo were filled with sympathetic words about Mason's clumsiness and frequent falls. At first, Sophia brushed it off as coincidence. Children fall, she reminded herself. But something about the tone lingered, a subtle echo of the words she had spoken about Leo long ago. Curiosity gnawed at her, prompting late-night scrolling through Deborah's curated Instagram feed. The flawless interiors, the smiling faces, the carefully staged moments of happiness, beneath it all, Sophia searched for cracks. She found them in subtle videos of the twins running in a sunlit field. Amelia moved gracefully, but Mason stumbled, his balance unsteady. There were images of birthday parties, mommy and me classes, and candid snapshots where Mason's gestures betrayed a struggle with coordination. The evidence, though indirect, was undeniable to Sophia's trained eye. The next message came through an email from Dr. Ryan Thorne, a geneticist Sophia had come to trust and respect. Their correspondence had grown over time, a lifeline in the complex world of pediatric genetics. Ryan's words confirmed what Sophia had begun to suspect: the disorder was a recessive genetic trait, meaning both parents had to carry the gene for their child to inherit it. The odds were 1 in 4 per pregnancy, a rare but devastating calculation. When Sophia mentioned John's family background and Deborah's possible role, Ryan's response was hesitant but clear. The statistical improbability was staggering, but it was likely that both John and Deborah were carriers. The grim reality sank deep. John had not escaped the flawed genes he feared, instead, he had found a partner carrying the same ticking genetic bomb. Sophia felt a cold satisfaction rise within her, tempered by the bitter irony of the situation. John had abandoned Leo, treating him as a defective product, only to become the common denominator in a cruel genetic equation. The twins, the perfect family he flaunted, were now entwined in the very struggle he tried to escape. This revelation was more than personal, it was poetic justice. The truth felt like a silent reckoning. Sophia watched from a distance as the carefully constructed facade of John and Deborah's life began to show signs of strain. Social media posts shifted in tone, captions once full of joy now hinted at exhaustion and worry. Friends whispered in private messages about hospital visits and uncertain prognoses. The polished image cracked under the weight of an unspoken burden. Sophia's detachment grew as she observed the unraveling. She no longer felt the sting of jealousy or anger but rather a cool, scientific curiosity. It was as if she were studying an experiment unfold, a fragile structure built on lies and avoidance, now collapsing under the truth's relentless pressure. The knowledge that karma was at work brought a quiet peace. The echoes of her own journey resonated in their struggles. She had walked the path of diagnosis, fear, and hope long before. Now, watching John and Deborah face their own trial, Sophia saw the inevitability of truth. The genetic legacy they shared was a cruel thread weaving their fates together, binding them to the reality they had tried to deny. The irony was not lost on her. John had sought perfection, a new life free from the burdens he deemed too heavy. Instead, he had stumbled into a mirror of his past, forced to confront the very challenges he tried to abandon. Deborah, too, was caught in the web of inherited fate, her polished image a fragile mask over growing despair. Sophia's reflections were tempered by empathy for the children caught in the middle. Mason and Amelia were innocent, unaware of the complexity swirling around them. Their lives were shaped by genes and circumstances beyond their control. Sophia's fierce love for Leo extended quietly to them, recognizing their shared struggles in a world that demanded perfection. The revelation shifted Sophia's perspective. It was no longer solely about betrayal or abandonment but about the fragile nature of family, genetics, and fate. The cruel twist of biology intertwined with human choices created a narrative both tragic and strangely just. Through whispered conversations and muted online exchanges, the story of the perfect twins began to surface beyond social media's curated perfection. The toll of medical bills, therapy appointments, and emotional strain became harder to conceal. Sophia watched as Deborah's posts became less frequent, her smiles less radiant. Sophia felt a profound sense of closure settle over her. The pain of the past remained, but the knowledge that truth prevailed brought solace. The scales of justice, though slow, had tipped in a way that neither words nor revenge could achieve. The story was no longer hers alone but a shared testament to resilience, fate, and the complexities of love and loss. As the weeks unfolded, Sophia's role as an observer shifted toward cautious hope. The twins' diagnosis, while devastating, opened doors to new understanding and potential support. Sophia found herself reaching out quietly, offering resources and empathy, bridging divides forged by pain. The poetic justice of the situation was undeniable. John's attempt to rewrite his life had only led him back to the beginning, confronting the very genetics he tried to outrun. Sophia's silent satisfaction was not rooted in malice but in the affirmation that truth, in time, reveals itself with relentless certainty. In the quiet moments, Sophia allowed herself a rare smile. It was not a smile of triumph over others but of peace within herself. The discovery had closed a painful chapter, opened new paths for healing, and reaffirmed the unbreakable bond between mother and child. John's call came late on a Thursday night. Sophia had just settled into the quiet of their modest living room, the soft glow of the communication device casting gentle patterns on the walls as Leo rested peacefully. The phone's sudden ring shattered the fragile calm. The number was unfamiliar, but something compelled her to answer. On the other end, John's voice was ragged, stripped of its usual arrogance and certainty. "Sophia," he began, hesitation thick in every word. "It's Mason, he's been diagnosed. It's the same thing, the exact same disorder." His words tumbled out in a rush, panic evident beneath the surface. "The doctors, they don't understand how it could happen. We need help." Sophia listened silently, letting the weight of his desperation wash over her. The man who had abandoned her and Leo, erased their family from his life, was now reaching out in desperation. Behind him, she could hear Deborah's distressed sobs, a heartbreaking soundtrack to their crumbling facade. "I know what this is," Sophia said, her voice cold and steady. "You know what to do. You're an expert at running away, but now the battle has come to your doorstep." John pleaded, his voice breaking. "Please, Sophia. I'm begging you. I'll come to you. I need your help." A short, bitter laugh escaped Sophia's lips. "An expert, am I? I got my PhD in abandonment," she replied sharply. "This is my problem, not yours. You made that very clear when you left." Despite the storm of emotion swirling within her, Sophia maintained control. She let the silence stretch, thick and uncomfortable, before finally speaking again. "Fine. Come here. But understand this, I won't make it easy for you. You don't get to walk away from your family and then expect a warm welcome when things get hard." Less than 20 minutes later, John arrived, looking disheveled and defeated. His tailored suit was wrinkled, hair tousled, and eyes bloodshot, shadows of the man who once promised to be her partner. Sophia opened the door and stood firmly, blocking his path. He tried to speak, but his gaze was drawn past her to Leo, who sat in his specialized chair, eyes focused on the colorful graphics dancing on his communication device screen. With a small but determined effort, Leo shifted his gaze to the device, which chirped softly, "More stars, please." The sight broke John. A guttural sob escaped him as he sank against the doorframe, whispering, "What have I done?" Sophia stepped aside but did not soften. "Get in. You're making a scene for the neighbors you paid so much to impress." Inside, John collapsed onto the sofa, burying his face in his hands. "I need your help," he mumbled. "The doctors, the specialists, you have lists, contacts. I don't know where to start." Her voice dropped to a dangerously soft edge. "Are you here for forgiveness too?" "Because I'm fresh out of absolution." Before he could answer, another frantic knock sounded. Sophia opened the door to reveal Deborah, her perfect face streaked with mascara and terror. Her voice trembled as she pleaded, "Please, I know we don't deserve it. I was awful, but it's my son too. I'm scared." This was the moment Sophia had envisioned in her darkest fantasies. The architects of her personal hell stood broken in her living room, begging for the expertise they had forced her to acquire through years of pain. But there was no anger, no tears, only a strange, icy calm that washed over her, a complete sense of control. "Sit down, Deborah," Sophia gestured toward the armchair opposite the sofa. The two sat, stewing in the wreckage of their perfect life for a full minute. Then Sophia began, her gaze unwavering as she fixed John with a cold stare. "You want to know how this happened? It's because of you. Your father was a carrier of this gene, and so are you. Your half-brother Ryan has tried to warn you, but you didn't want to listen." John's eyes widened in disbelief. "Ryan? How do you know him?" "He's been a friend and mentor for Leo's care for years. While you ran from your own bloodline, I embraced it to save our son." Sophia's voice was firm, delivering truth like a hammer. For Mason to have this condition, both John and Deborah had to be carriers. The odds were astronomical, like lightning striking twice. John had tried to escape his flawed genes by building a perfect family with Deborah, only to discover they shared the same ticking bomb. Deborah whimpered softly as the brutal truth settled in the room. Sophia continued without mercy, "I won't help you. I won't share my lists of doctors or research. You don't get to abandon the battlefield and then ask for a map when the war comes to your door. You don't deserve my comfort or absolution." She watched the hope drain from their faces, then walked to her desk and tore a page from a notepad. Holding up a photo of Mason, whose innocent eyes were already caught in the cruel genetic web, Sophia wrote one name, Dr. Ryan Thorne. "He is the best in his field," Sophia said, handing the paper to John. "He is your family. This is your mess. You two can fix it together." Then she opened the door and said, "Now get out of my house." A year passed. The stage lights warmed Sophia's face as she accepted the Advocate of the Year award. The ballroom was filled with expectant faces blurred into a sea of support. Leo sat front and center, beaming in his tiny tuxedo t-shirt, his communication device positioned perfectly. Beside him was Ryan, no longer just a doctor but family. The family Sophia had chosen, forged in honesty and respect, not lies and convenience. John and Deborah's perfect marriage buckled under medical bills and reality they couldn't Instagram away. Rumors of financial wreckage and emotional breakdowns surfaced. Deborah's blog became a grim chronicle of their journey, and the comments were often unkind. Sophia felt no joy or pity, only a profound, peaceful distance. They were a chapter closed, a book she had no desire to reread. Her smile was not about their downfall but her rise. She stood as a leader and voice for thousands because she refused to be broken. She had built a world of purpose and profound love, not despite her tragedy but because of it. Later that evening, in their quiet living room, Sophia sipped a glass of decent champagne. Leo laughed, a real, bubbling sound that was the best music in the world. Ryan showed Leo how to make shadow puppets on the wall. Sophia looked at her son and the good man beside him, her heart so full it might burst. "I didn't just survive," she whispered, "we won." She cleared her throat, leaned back on the sofa, and prepared for more battles, more families to help. For the first time in a long time, the whole world was listening. Sophia's journey from abandonment and heartbreak to empowerment took a profound turn as she channeled her pain into purpose. Determined to ensure no family would face the overwhelming challenges she endured alone, she founded the Leo's World Foundation, a community dedicated to supporting children with chronic illnesses and their families. What began as a personal blog had blossomed into a powerful network of advocacy, education, and hope. The foundation was more than an organization, it was a movement. Sophia worked tirelessly, collaborating with medical professionals, therapists, and fellow parents to create resources that addressed the unique struggles faced by families like hers. Grants were established to help cover the staggering costs of assistive devices, therapies, and medical bills, easing financial burdens that so often threatened to break them. Insurance battles, once a solitary and exhausting ordeal for Sophia, became a collective fight, with advocates ready to stand beside families demanding fair coverage. Sophia's leadership was born from lived experience and fierce compassion. She spoke at conferences and community events, her voice clear and resolute as she shared her story, not as a victim, but as a survivor and warrior. Her advocacy extended beyond the medical realm, tackling social stigma and educating the public about the realities of pediatric chronic illness. Through workshops, online forums, and support groups, Sophia created safe spaces where parents could share their fears, triumphs, and strategies without judgment or isolation. The foundation's growth was fueled by the very community Sophia had found solace in during her darkest days. Parents from across the country connected through virtual meetings, exchanging knowledge and emotional support. Together, they celebrated milestones, first successful swallows, improved communication, and moments of independence, each victory a testament to resilience. Sophia's vision was one of empowerment, transforming individual struggles into collective strength. Amidst the demands of her advocacy, Sophia cherished the moments of joy she shared with Leo. Their bond deepened through simple pleasures, quiet afternoons filled with laughter, the warmth of a gentle hug, and the magic of shadow puppets dancing on the walls. Leo's eyes sparkled with curiosity and love, his voice clear through his communication device as he expressed gratitude and affection. These moments grounded Sophia, reminding her that beyond the battles and pain was a life rich with meaning and connection. Ryan remained a steadfast presence in their lives, not just as a medical expert but as chosen family. His kindness, patience, and dedication provided stability and comfort. Together, they navigated the complexities of Leo's care, celebrated his achievements, and faced challenges with a united front. The warmth of their relationship brought healing, filling spaces once hollowed by loss. Sophia's personal growth was profound. The betrayal that once threatened to define her became a catalyst for transformation. She embraced healing with grace, allowing herself to grieve fully yet refusing to be imprisoned by bitterness. Her resilience radiated, inspiring others to find strength in vulnerability and courage in adversity. Purposeful living became Sophia's guiding principle. Every decision, every action was infused with intention, whether advocating for policy changes, mentoring new parents, or simply savoring a quiet evening with Leo. The foundation was a legacy born of love and struggle, a beacon for families navigating similar storms. Sophia's advocacy extended to education, collaborating with schools and community programs to promote inclusivity and understanding for children with disabilities. She worked to dismantle barriers, ensuring access to resources and acceptance in environments often unprepared for diverse needs. Her efforts fostered empathy, awareness, and systemic change. The foundation also prioritized mental health support, recognizing the emotional toll chronic illness took on families. Counseling services, peer support groups, and wellness workshops became integral components. Sophia understood that healing was holistic, encompassing mind, body, and spirit. Through her leadership, Sophia cultivated a culture of hope and empowerment. Families once isolated found community and strength. The shared stories of struggle and triumph wove a tapestry of resilience that transcended individual hardship. Sophia's moments of joy with Leo were interspersed with celebrations of the Foundation's milestones. Fundraising galas, awareness campaigns, and community outreach events highlighted their collective progress. Each success was a victory over despair, a testament to the power of love and determination. In quiet reflection, Sophia acknowledged the journey she had traversed. From the depths of abandonment and betrayal to the heights of advocacy and leadership, she had forged a path marked by courage and compassion. The scars remained but were softened by growth and healing. Sophia's heart brimmed with gratitude, not only for the support she received but for the opportunity to give back. Her story was no longer one of loss but of transformation, a beacon illuminating the way for others. As she held Leo close, watching his eyes light up with joy, Sophia knew their lives were defined not by the past but by the hope they nurtured each day. Together with Ryan and the Foundation's community, they faced the future with strength and unwavering love.